Wow. Are you happy that I got it to work?
Yeah.
That was worth the wait. Wow, that was
Worth
big.
the wait.
I was
Literally.
fired up the whole time.
Yeah, we're all just in the chat. Like,
Just bopping.
I was trying to talk and I was like, oh, my mic is muted.
no, it means everything.
But,
Can't get around it.
Yeah, we're waiting for Jack here, our honorary Marauder. Matt's in here now.
Yeah,
and we're gonna talk about Bad Batch. We're gonna do that in our podcast, official, every other week, like we did with Mandalorian. But I figure, what are we calling this? Marauders Live.
Yeah, just call it Marauder Live. Marauder
we gotta come up with a better
Marauders.
name than that at some point.
Okay. Misters.
That's
come
on
up
you.
with something better than
We'll
Marauder Live.
We'll brainstorm. Marauder Live.
All right. Do you like my new poster? I moved the wrong way. Yeah.
Whoa, nice. I like it. I like it a lot.
So while
the
we're waiting
best
for Jack,
Star Wars movie ever made, right there.
while we're waiting for Jack, Matt was going like,
I was going bananas.
You were going ham on Force Awakens last night, and I was
Dude,
like, what do you do? I mean, I love Force Awakens. It's like top 4 Star Wars movie.
So you buy this poster last night and then it already arrived?
No, I actually had this sitting around for quite a while, but I didn't have the wherewithal to hang it up. Used to be a train clock right there, and I was like, I'll just use the nail for the train clock. So I was like,
I'm just gonna use this train clock. I love it.
But yeah, so what got you so jazzed about
The Force Awakens is always a movie where, like, I don't want to say I don't like it, obviously, but like I sleep on it. Like when I'm not watching it, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Force Awakens is good, it's fun. And then when I'm watching, I'm like, holy crap! Like this movie's a blast. Like this is just like nonstop fun. I love this movie, and it's like I get jazzed as soon as anybody turns it on. But when it's off, it's like
you forget about it, because out of the 3 sequels, it's the one it gets talked about the least amount, for better and worse. So
where I think it's like there's the least amount of stuff to talk about in it, like the least amount to chew on.
There's not much to chew on.
Yeah, you just watch it and then you're like, all right, that was nice, that was fun. I mean,
there's
the best thing it had going
on the surface, and it's like easy to kind of just understand exactly what's going on first watch through basic stuff.
Right. The best thing it had going, I think, was just like, for me, when it came out in that year, 2 years to Last Jedi, it was just like, what's going to happen next? So I think that was like the mystery of what was going to happen next. Who is Snoke? Obviously, we're still asking ourselves that question. Not that I care as much now, but
is he cloned from Luke's hand?
No. I had a discussion.
I don't think he is either. I have to like spread the word, make sure that doesn't become one of those things that people. There's so many things that people just like read from the comics and immediately like they share, but they didn't read the comics. They only see the interpretations of what other people say when they read the comics. So like in the Darth Vader Dark Lord of the Sith comic, when Anakin is meditating and you see Palpatine hovering over Shmi, pregnant Shmi, and it's like, well, that's proof that Palpatine created Anakin, and people just didn't that comic confirm that? Didn't that comic confirm that? And I always have to be like, no, please stop.
Yeah, even Zach, our friend Zach, we had to talk to him about
like the author's intent, and sometimes that doesn't even matter, really. I mean, author's intent isn't necessarily the word of God, but I think in that case, it's different.
Yeah.
Same with Ben Solo destroying the temple. Both Charles Soule and Matt Martin, who's part of the story group, are both under the impression that Ben Solo did it. I mean, that's the kind of like their intention, that he kind of like lashed out with that with that raw power.
Great segue. Jack's on his way. This is a great segue to a big question I'm going to ask on here is, are comic creators and writers for Star Wars on the same page as everyone else, or
seems like they're not.
I think so I think love Dave Filoni. Yeah, I know. That's the big controversy. Everybody's freaking out about it. I'm not. I don't think this is that big a deal.
It doesn't bother me too much.
Because
also, hello, Farm Boy. We see you there.
Because I think, personally speaking, like you said yesterday in the stream, with All New Nerds, right?
Oh yeah, you watched that?
I did.
Okay, Thank you.
I have to do
That's
better.
nice
I
of you.
couldn't find it. AJ didn't send it to me.
You
And
didn't
so
send it to her.
I'm like
You only sent it to me. Wow.
I'm sitting like 2 rooms away, like trying to find it, and then I just gave up, and then I took a nap because I had a bad migraine from like dose 2 and whatnot. So I
Yeah.
was just whatever.
Hey, you got off easy. Oh my goodness. I was on death's door all Sunday. Anyway,
Yeah.
like you said yesterday, like the bare bones of the story are still there. You know, Caleb and Depa Balaba are attacked by clones that they once trusted on the planet Caller during a siege, and Depa saves Caleb by telling him to run, sacrificing herself, gets mowed down. Even Commander Gray, who is red in the comics but is now green for some reason, he's there. So I don't know. I think when it comes to canon, I think the bare bones of events are what's canon. I think the details are subject to interpretation by different authors, kind of like how the real world works. Like if you're making a story based on like real events, even if it's like, not exactly like based on a true story, but based in like a period of time or something like that, you're going to either get things wrong or change details just to, fit your narrative better. So what I said earlier about, Caleb and Depa Balaba being attacked on Caller by clones they trust, blah, blah, blah. That's what happened. But now we have 2 different interpretations of that event, one in a comic and one from Dave Filoni, who, and I get why he did it. I know a lot of people are like complaining, they didn't need to do it. It didn't need to be Kanan.
I think that it didn't need to be Kanan. Like I went into the episode 100% not expecting any sort of actual like backstory to fuel that fire, and I was so surprised that it even happened in the first place. I think that like the way that they did it was, I think, totally fine. If you think back also with like that comic though, people don't read the comics. The average viewer does not read the comics. It doesn't matter. The average viewer does not read the comics, even though it might be canon. The average viewer, if you're not plugged into it, they're not going to read it. So like another thing, like with like those comics as well, it's like Kanan recounting the story to the crew. So it's not even like it's like, oh, this is exactly what happened. It's just what Kanan's memory of what happened. So like it might have been skewed at this point. Obviously, it's vastly different with the whole edition of the Bad Batch, but like
that's something I also want to point out.
It's something interesting.
Is that all of the biggest contradictions that people talk about, the Ahsoka novelizations recounting of the Siege of Mandalore versus what we actually see in Clone Wars, and what was the second one? Cobb Vanth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All of the things that changed are in their backstories, and they're all in flashbacks. Now, I don't know if that's just like a coincidence, or if that was like on purpose, like they have like a rule, like, oh, we can change things up if they're presented in a flashback or presented in the past or whatnot. But I just want to point out that so far, all of the major contradictions have happened when a character is like recounting an event.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely a good point.
So in the comic, Depa's lightsaber is green.
Yeah, I know.
In the show, it was blue.
It was blue.
In the new lightsaber book, we were just flipping through it. The reason we were flipping through it was to see if we could find the hilt.
The Jedi hilt.
Yeah. We couldn't figure it out, but Jamie will find Depa's lightsaber in there.
There you go.
And it's pretty interesting.
Oh, see, I don't remember. So this is gonna be a big
reveal. It's blue.
It's blue.
Look at that.
So, and that came out a few months ago. So.
Yeah, a few months ago, sometime last year. But yeah, in this book, which is a within the past year release, it's blue.
All right. Okay.
Which is interesting. I mean, like this book is like really interesting in general though, because it includes like information that's like in canon but not, because it talks about like each of the actors who like also like played the character so far, which is pretty funny.
That is pretty cool.
But I like this one a lot. But it was blue in this.
Farm Boy agrees with you, Matt. And agrees with us. So
thank you, Royal Farm Boy.
Yeah, I remember you saw the chat on there. I was talking with Levi about that, and Levi Bond, and he was pretty torn on the whole what's canon now and whatnot. And then Scott from our podcast and whatnot. I was gonna try to get him on here, but I haven't been able to get a hold of him. he's pretty upset about it too, I guess. And he's like, where do we go from here? So
personally, I don't think there's need to be upset yet. People were saying like it sets a dangerous precedent, it's like dangerous. But it really, I don't think it is, because again, the bare bones of the backstory are kept. Yeah. They didn't really change the event. They changed the details of the event, but they didn't change what happened, Yeah. At least that's the way I see it.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hey,
we're
Jack,
going
welcome.
over
here just yet.
Okay.
Oh.
There goes
he'll be until he's like really ready.
He force projected in.
I see the chat now, Rural Farm Boy. I got my thing set on comments. So
yeah, there we go. Yeah, so we'll break down some Bad Batch when Jack gets in here. We'll ask him about this whole deal as well.
Kerfuffle. Yeah,
Canon
the big controversy. Everybody's golden boy Filoni is under fire.
The lightsaber thing is the weirdest thing. It's like, why did they make it blue? Like,
I don't know.
It was green, but I don't know. Apparently the planets are different. Same planet, different look. But they did that with
it's like snowy and like jungly, but
they did that with
I know what you're gonna say, and
well.
Yeah, there you go, Tython.
Yeah. That was
because even that too. That was supposed to be snowy, but it ended up being in Jon Favreau's backyard. So
yeah, and this was the reverse, where this was snowy and it wasn't supposed to be. So
yeah,
who knows?
I think Jack's ready to jump in, but I just saw his like cat run by behind him, so I'm not sure like what's going on back there. I just saw Morty run behind you like Sasquatch, and I'm like, well, what's going on over there?
Yeah, he's a little squirrely right now.
So Jack, we're talking about
the
beginning of Bad Batch.
It's definitely been my first thought of this whole time is what the hell, guys?
Yeah. Okay. So to recap so far, though, Matt brought up the only time they've really shown any sort. Well, Matt, you explained that point. The only time that they've like shown it so far.
So like the biggest contradictions in canon so far have happened with events that have been like recounted / like flashbacked to. So like the Ahsoka novelization recounting the Siege of Mandalore versus what actually happened. Cobb Vanth's backstory in The Mandalorian versus his backstory in the Aftermath trilogy, and now it's like Kanan's backstory versus what it was in the comics. Yeah. So it seems like they're sticking to kind of changing details about events that have been like memories.
Yeah, not actually like this is exactly what happened, but more so because that's how I've been taking like this like change is that maybe Kanan just didn't remember all of it correctly, and like this is just actually what happened. We just know he's always had the intense hatred for the clones because of Order 66, and they killed Zeppa. Like that's what was confirmed and known. And like I said earlier, everyone doesn't read the comics. I happen to have the comic because I love Kanan Jarrus Jedi Knight, but other than that, like.
Yeah, and it's like the through line remains the same, but that detail becomes muddied, and you have to wonder, okay, well, how often will this continue to happen? I mean, every once in a while is really not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things, but as a bigger Star Wars nerd, it's kind of the opposite of Marvel, because not to dive too much into the other side of the Disney fence, but I find that oftentimes as a deep cut Marvel fan, I get rewarded for that knowledge, and the things that I see, while they may not play out the way I've seen them play out in the comics, I'll often see those references and be like, oh, that's a cool little nod right there. Whereas with Star Wars, because I don't know, it takes itself in a different tone. It's a little more serious about itself. We have these moments where instead of like the nods to like, hey, the extra stuff, it's more like there are plenty of Easter eggs and stuff, not to say there aren't, but it feels more like, we feel like telling this, so we're going to do it our way. And it's like, oh, but what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I put in the extra work. Why do I have to
it's like, I know all of this knowledge and I want to like use this knowledge, and it's like, all right.
No, I know there were certain like MCU comics that came out. I never read them. I never got into them.
Oh, I guess I don't mean like that. There is technically some places where they've traveled to the MCU universe in comic, but I guess that is definitely a different context because we're talking about on one side canon comics that are supposed to exist alongside the main media, and then the comics that which the media is then adapting from. That is definitely a different context. You're right.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was trying to remember because I remember being in an airport and seeing like this comic that was like, ooh, look, it's like the prequel to Spider-Man Homecoming, and I was like, oh,
in the airport.
There are some interlude things, yeah.
Yeah.
I think of some.
So I was just wondering if they referenced those or have contradicted those in the past. I don't know because I haven't.
It's possible. Those. The MCU is not perfect either.
Yeah, no.
It's hard to have a story this broad, but like it's you're going to step on toes.
I do agree with you that I really hope it doesn't happen too often. Like I hope it is like a once in a while kind of thing where we can like shrug it off and be like, all right, whatever. As long as they don't change the bare bones of the events that happened, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I can be fine with it or shrug it off and say like whatever.
Once sorry, I just got really distracted.
Around, I'm worried.
Jack, do you have a Clone Trooper backpack on your wall?
I do. I just need a hot link for it.
I was about to say
you goes right along with Anakin.
Because like my eyes just like shot out of my head while Matt was talking, not because I was listening to what Matt was saying. I'm sorry.
Okay,
but
for my next in-person troop as Anakin, I'm definitely going to put Baby Yoda in there.
I'm excited.
That's perfect, dude. That's so good.
Yeah, you got to send me links later, but we'll talk about that. Okay.
Where were we?
We're complaining about Dave Filoni.
Kanan.
And his penchant for rewriting stuff.
I could see it's only going to happen with like novels and comic stuff. Like they won't muddy the waters on stuff we've seen on screen. Ben Solo blowing up the temple. I know that could change. Change in some way because it's so vague already.
I know a lot of people who would like
example.
They already retconned that, didn't they? Because we all assumed that Ben was responsible for blowing that up, but then it's heavily implied that maybe Snoke was the one who actually blew it up because he's like no, and then boom, it's knocked back. So
we were over this earlier.
His fault.
We went over this earlier before you hopped on, and so Charles Soule and Matt Martin, who's part of the story group, both agree that it was Ben who did it. Now, again, authorial intent. You can put weight on that or you don't have to. Like, it's not like you don't have to sit and be like, okay, authorial intent is canon, whatever. Like, you can interpret things different ways. But I tend to agree with them in terms of like, I think it was his.
It's definitely up for interpretation.
Yeah. When Luke says to Rey in The Last Jedi that he wasn't afraid of Ben's raw strength, I feel like that's kind of what he was talking about, where it's like he can lash out in anger and create these giant, kind of tantrum storms that kill everybody.
Yeah.
But it's just like that kind of like incredible potential that he accidentally unleashes that destroys the temple. That's the way I see it.
I think another interesting thing to...
Oh, sorry. I was reading the comment. He goes with any story that overwrites something in the canon. He goes with the presently told story. So, that's the way to roll, right? Because whatever we saw in Bad Batch is what we have to go with.
I think one important thing about the whole Ben Solo thing as well, we get 3 different versions of that in the movie. So talk about like memories being rehashed in like real time. But then we actually do get like the true version of the events only after we get 2 different events and literally compare the 2 situations and find out what's actually real. So I don't think that like they'll be doing that with like a lot of Star Wars stories. I doubt they'll ever do it again. But the fact that they have like the flashbacks that many times in that movie with that event, since it was so important, they could do it again in the future for different events. I feel like with this one though, we did have like, so this was in a sense like Kanan's version of the event, and then now it's like, okay, but this is actually what really happened. It's like watching the end of Clue. You see the 3 different variations, and then it's like, but this is what actually happened, and you get like you get those blanks filled in. Star Wars is always, we did a little bit here, but we're gonna fill in the blanks later. And
I guess.
Yeah, visual media will always take the principal stage as well. It's not like they're gonna just like shove it into like a book or into a comic. The visual media will always just outweigh all of that.
Absolutely, it's that stuff that is reaching the widest audience, so it kind of has to be the most reliable thing out there. Absolutely.
So I guess we'll move on and talk about what we liked from Bad Batch, and not that we didn't like this stuff, but
we liked the Lula, Rutgers Lula.
Honestly,
after
that part, and after I kind of shrugged off that kind of confusion in that initial scene, like I was right back in. I was enjoying everything. I was like, all right, just had to kind of
yeah. It's not even like the scene was like that, like confusing. It was more of just like, oh well, they changed it. All right, we'll just move along. Like I took it in stride. So like literally, as like someone who loves Kanan and has read that comic, I'm not 100% on all the details. And so like rewatching it, the moment they said it was Collar, I was like, oh no, they're gonna show this scene. I wasn't specific on the details. Like I forgot that the planet was different, and like I forgot the color of her lightsaber, but guess what? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because we're still just like watching it, and we're still experiencing it for the first time. And like we were both saying earlier, that it's just the visual media reaches that widest audience, and most, like 75% of the people watching the Bad Batch had no idea that was a different version of a comic.
Yeah.
So
it's just us like super nerds, like, well, actually,
like to be green.
The actuallys of the universe. Just let it roll, guys. Just let it roll.
When it comes to the Bad Batch itself, I mean, I kept seeing a lot of people who their initial reaction was, oh, I didn't really think much of their portrayal in Clone Wars, but I really like this.
Yeah.
And I really like the tension that gets built up and hinted at first between Crosshair and the rest of the gang that only elevates as the episode goes on.
Yeah. Something that's been building since that arc in the first place, though, because like Crosshair's like stereotype of a character is he's lone wolf sniper. He's not really supposed to like get along with the group in the first place, but he does. He makes it work, and then like I don't know. We know how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him when he was first introduced because I always like a Deadeye character. It's tough writing that kind of character into a story and then making them the antagonist, because then you have this like, oh, well, I mean, he can make every shot, except when it's the main character. We don't want to get killed.
Yeah,
that is such a good point. And I was thinking about that yesterday when like they're flying away and he pulls out his pistol and he's shooting, and like it's like it's all around, and I'm like, dude,
like,
what are you doing?
This is the same guy that shot a knife out of the air.
Like seconds earlier.
Like, wow. Okay, let's talk about that entire scene for a second.
By the way,
wow.
I don't think we labeled this with a spoiler warning, but we've already spoiled some things. So you shouldn't be watching a Star Wars live thing if you haven't watched Bad Batch, but spoiler warning. Okay. Who was going? Jamie? Matt?
One of you guys can kick it off. Just talking about like that scene.
Dark Troopers.
When they're in like the training room.
Dark Troopers.
The D2 series.
I don't miss a Dark Forces reference. I enjoyed that they were able to very quickly, they used the Crosshair is an incredible, like an important part of the team. He does a lot of the legwork in that initial skirmish when their guns work okay.
Yeah.
For the live rounds.
Yeah.
Tarkin being who he is, it's nice to see him again. Like I'm glad that they can continue to use him and that he
aged still very quickly.
He aged so
the stress of being a Moff is taking his toll.
It's a stressful job, okay?
Exactly.
It's as stressful as being in Tatooine, living on Tatooine for 20 years.
There we go.
He aged so quickly. It didn't make any sense, like at all.
Yeah,
that's true.
Gosh.
The continuity is
just be older.
Yeah.
But yeah, that entire scene, like, I loved all the callbacks in the first place. So, you got to rewatch the Rookies arc if you haven't recently, first of all, because you just get Echo's entire origin story. That's literally how we meet Echo and Fives and the crew, is them doing that little exercise that they're doing, but it's slightly different along the way. And it's just, it was really good, like all throughout. Like there was like moments in which like when like Wrecker goes forward, he's like, it's taking too long, and he just charges forward. That's exactly what Heavy does. And it's just like, oh, we're experiencing all of the emotions in this one moment, because it was really good, and it really showcased all of their abilities and what they can bring to the team. And yeah, like you guys said, like Crosshair is like a really big part of that team, and it's definitely going to be interesting moving forward to see how they do execute everything moving forward.
Yeah.
I was, like it's funny. It's not funny. It's shocking when you see Wrecker of all people get knocked back by the Dark Troopers blasters.
Yeah,
and that's how, the tension just ramps up immediately.
Yeah.
He gets shot a lot.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to be like a running thing where he just keeps getting shot.
Yeah, he got shot at
Literal
least
tank.
twice. Yeah.
No. We want the big boy to get back up. We don't want him to stay on the ground. Oh no.
I love the vibe just on Camino alone. I don't know, like they obviously stuck out really like a sore thumb, and everyone else is so uniform and everything. And something I wanted to talk about with the whole Kanan scene.
AJ.
Yeah.
No, then your audio went all wonky for a second, so I interrupted you to make sure it stopped.
Oh, I was confused.
I didn't hear anything. Then when you said AJ, you froze. So you were like AJ.
Oh, cool.
I think we all froze. We're like, what's going on?
It's like,
what's going on?
Nice. It must be our internet.
I loved
anyway
the Kanan scene when Hunter and Crosshair go into the woods, and it's so quiet. And this is something I just noticed. It's so quiet. And all I could think is like, what is going on across the galaxy right now? It's just all the Jedi are being gunned down, and it was just a quiet moment. Maybe you hear a couple tanks.
Mm.
You're in the serene, like calm forest, and like there's like a galaxy-wide genocide happening,
falling
like,
apart.
Right
off, I thought of that for some reason on my second viewing. I thought of that.
If you think about that as well, though, so like it's quiet in like the forest, and we just hear like the water running, and so the Force is losing all of these Jedi, and so the Force is literally being silenced across the galaxy, and so it's kind of like going back to like that as well, as they're just trying to hunt down little Caleb.
Yeah.
I love the visuals of Collar though.
Oh my god, like, little Caleb with the adult man voice.
The voice.
We couldn't pitch that up a little bit,
dude. They went I love how in The Mandalorian they did like 20 different like voice effects on Mark Hamill to get like 5 lines from Luke Skywalker so that he sounded younger, but they couldn't do like just one tiny little like vocal shift.
in this
one, it sounded like a child. I think he did a good job delivering the lines.
Yeah.
Tossed him in the booth and they're like, just sound really excited, okay? Like you're a kid. And that was the only direction. I will say in like the first viewing, like we noticed it was Depa, and so I knew it was coming, and he slides down the hill and he's all excited, and I'm at AJ and I'm like, they got him to do it. And then like 2 lines in, I'm like, oh, why did they get him to do it? I don't think this was a good idea.
So deep.
Master, I got him.
Like
12, he's like what, like 14? 12, 13?
Yeah, at most. Like
14
most noticeable in the whole yelling at Hunter to stay away, because like he's yelling and it's being aggressive, and so like nothing we can do. I mean, like I love that they got him to do it, but I feel like they could have done something a little differently with just that, pitch it up a little.
I wouldn't want them to not do Freddie Prinze Jr. I like him.
Oh yeah, no.
So
I prefer that.
I would like them to bring him back and just pitch his voice up a little higher. Or just have him try to do like a higher pitched voice. I mean, you can. You could just you can pitch your voice up just a little higher too.
When you're voice acting, if you listen, you're spending hours in the booth. I'm sure they tried something like that. I gotta believe that was their best choice.
Yeah.
Most of it was good. Most of it was like early on, like it was really excited and like faster paced, but it like I said, like towards the end with just like the whole aggressive yelling back, that's a lot harder to do. So
yeah. Definitely.
We still love him.
Absolutely. It was nice to see like that in live action, like all complaints aside. It was really, really cool to see that. I was curious what your thoughts are on Omega.
I love Omega.
I
love Omega.
Yeah, she's great.
Love Omega.
I was worried, kid characters can sometimes be hit or miss, but I really enjoyed her.
I saw someone comparing it to like Ahsoka's first appearance, in which like it's just like it's just like a little kid, and it's just like we don't really like care and whatnot, but like that they're gonna grow regardless, and the potential is there for them to do something big. As with all kids in real life, their potential is there, and that they're gonna grow up. So I think it was like a great like just like introduction for a kid, and it wasn't like too much like overall. Like I loved the scene when they're like in the jail cell and she's just like copying Hunter.
That was great.
Then,
goes up to Crosshair like, "What's up?
What's up?
Yeah,
you doing all right?"
My god! Like it was like a perfect like interaction for like a kid and like an adult who like has no experience with kids, in which they're just like they like like a kid says something really spooky to you and you're just like, whoa, like that's like literally it was perfect. It like worked out so well.
I have to say it's nice to hear another voice other than D. Bradley Baker. No offense to D. Bradley Baker, but like, holy crap, that guy's carrying literally like the entire show. It's nice to have like a main cast member who's not voiced by D. Bradley Baker.
What do we think Omega's genetic mutations are? Because she's the fifth unaltered or fifth clone of sorts. So I guess who do we think she's a clone of, and what do you think that her abilities are?
She's a clone of Jango Fett, and she's force sensitive.
We sort of. Yeah, I was gonna say we sort of talked about this off camera.
Yeah.
You know, Jamie and I did, and then I texted Matt about it, and we all kind of think force sensitive, right?
Yeah.
I think this is just like in The Mandalorian, just another example of like the many things that were attempted to try to get force sensitive.
Yes.
Like the Kaminoans may have been able to just like nail it, at least in that moment. And that could explain why Palpatine's trying to recapture lightning in a bottle for 30, 40 years.
And you know, she could be pretty important. She could be a valuable asset that the Empire is trying to track down for that very reason, you know.
It would explain why Lama Su and everybody's trying to keep this under wraps.
Yeah.
But why would Nala say just let her go? Like that's like a really big question.
I'm thinking it's a big screw you to the Empire. The Empire is clearly like they're ducking out, and it looks like the Kaminoans know it. And I honestly think we're going to get another adaptation of something in Legends where the clones rebel against the Empire, or the Kaminoans send the clones after the Empire, and there's like a big like clone versus clone battle on Kamino.
Yeah,
I've my friends were talking about that too as a potential. That they talk about that in the diaries in the Battlefront 2 2005 version.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you play like an entire level about that. It was great.
Yeah. I always got stuck in the Jedi Temple level. I could never get Order 66. They're too good. Just destroyed all the archives on me. But I is it just me, or did Order 66 turn all the troopers into jerks?
Yeah. Oh my god!
Oh, yeah.
Massive jerks. Okay,
Look,
before we switch total topics. Farmboy pointed out that Omega also copied Hunter's hand signals when they were leaving the corridor, which I didn't even notice. But like, I loved the use of the hand signals in general, because obviously they make so much sense. It always reminds me of the classic scene in Get Smart when she's making the hand motions. But like, yes, I love how Hunter makes the hand signals. Wrecker just straight up gets so upset and texts like, just learn them. And then just the response.
It's the Donkey Kong thumbs up.
One big thumbs up. I love it.
I'm with Wrecker. That's too much.
Wrecker, all new nerds is in here. Hello, guys.
Hey. Wrecker was just such a surprise to love so much, because like in like the initial arc, he was just a big Dumbo, and I'm like, I don't really care about like this like big guy, like whatever. But like literally in like this episode alone, I'm just like, oh boy, now we absolutely have to love this guy. And like he also has like the stuffed animal, like Tuca Cat, and like the Lula doll, and like, oh gosh, I can't. I love it so much.
I see a lot of people talking about like how much they love Wrecker, and I agree. Yeah. But I'm not over the hump on him yet. I'm like almost there, but I'm not yet there, because again, in this episode, like half of his lines are like, "Oh man, I can't smash. Oh man, I can't smash that. Oh, I can't explode this." And it's just like after a while, it's
funny.
Like, all right, dude.
But I get.
He's also he's gotten some good characterization too. I mean, like think about their home. Whenever they come back, he's like, it smells like home. And then when they get stuck in the jail cell, it's like, smells weird in here. It's like, because it's clean.
He's the only one that's like sentimental over things. He has the stuffed animal, and
they definitely put the most work into him, like in terms of character development, I think, in this.
Because he was so one-sided in the initial arc. He was just big dude. I loved the food fight. Okay,
I did too, actually. I thought that was clever.
Fun question. What do we think they were all eating? Because AJ and I are like, were they big rolls or were they burritos?
They look like burritos.
Like, what were they?
Rolls.
So like, I think the big things were rolls with like some like taquitos and then like some little like jalapenos, like cucumber things. But then they had these giant like rolls.
Well, it was Italian night.
Omega's like
They
tossing it in
put
her
bread on the
hands.
table early.
The jalapenos.
It's a bao bun with hamburger and cheeseburger in it.
There you go.
I saw them at Disney, and that's all I've been thinking about.
Just thinking about the rolls the entire time.
I have to admit, though, you don't really reveal a giant cafeteria in anything if you're not going to do a food fight. So I'm glad that Star Wars finally, after like how many years since 2002, finally gave us a food fight in that giant cafeteria.
2 in the last year. I mean, we got that, and we got the food fight in The Mandalorian. Although that was a more violent food fight. There's really only food involved at the very beginning when that one trooper that was
oh my god.
And the chowder eating Grogu. That's another food fight. That's when the food fought.
Yeah, I was about to say that's
a
literal food fight.
Yeah. I can't believe you didn't help him.
I know. All right, so food fight. What else on Kamino? AZ,
so much more
the return of AZ.
Oh yeah, AZ's back.
AZ.
He keeps getting messed up, dude. He keeps getting shot. Keeps getting like destroyed.
I'm really hoping he comes back in some sort of way.
I was really hoping he was going to be part of the crew. I thought he was going to hop away.
Oh, you're talking about AZ.
Omega.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Everything just like filtered out for me. No, it is exactly the same.
Good. Was that?
No, it was always that. It was always that. But then like Fives initially is just like, oh no, it's I'm just Fives and we're just gonna call you AZ. And so like they just kind of like roll with it. I loved in that entire like sequence with AZ when you first like hear him. And just like he just does a little scan over Echo. Echo is just so terrified, immediately. Yeah. Like I love it's the smallest of details to make him terrified of machines, but it's incredible that they actually like included it. And then just to like circle back, like 2 minutes ago, we were talking about how the clones are jerks now after Order 66. I was also fascinated by the fact all of the clones in that mess hall had the exact same haircut, and none of them were individuals anymore. It was almost like all of the ones who had any sort of like individual like thought or experience, they were all gone. But then like you think about it like as well. I was talking to someone about this today, that the thing that we always focused on was just the 501st clones, and then sometimes the 212th. We don't really know what happened in all of the other legions. We would like to like assume that the Jedi like also like gave them like, fear reign, have your own personality and whatnot. But like we were so highly focused on the 501st, we never actually saw what everyone else was doing. So like maybe they were a little bit more rigid in the first place, and we just saw like the fun legion. But like I don't know. So it's just something interesting that
this was definitely a side effect of the chips. Everybody is, cutting their hair the same.
They all regrew their hair.
No more tattoos.
They were just sitting there like,
no more tattoos.
Just growing their hair back.
Where do we think Cody
Order
and
66 is
the 212th went? Like back to Coruscant, or I'm thinking Coruscant.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
You think so?
Because I feel like Cody will be like a high up.
That or Kamino, one of the two. They could have been there too. It's a big, big facility.
I feel like if he wasn't there,
Cody was by rank.
We would have seen him.
Cody was by rank Marshal Commander, so he was already like one of the highest, if not the highest, clone commander in the Republic Army. So we know that he'll be doing more. It's weird that he didn't go back to Kamino though, or none of them did. I also find it really interesting that the like almost entire Coruscant Guard was on Kamino. Like, why did they just like, abandon their post? Like, what's going on? Shock troopers. Have they ever like referred to them as like shock troopers, like in like a line before? Like, we knew they were shock troopers, but like I find it so weird that they were just like, oh, shock troopers, like suddenly.
And then later that day, Hasbro was like shock troopers.
Maybe they're just not used to that kind of special unit being on Kamino. Being that it's just supposed to be a cloning facility. I mean, it has guards, of course. It has like its own guard, but.
I think they put it in to confuse people because in Mandalorian, Cara Dune's a rebel shock trooper. They're going to be like, shock troopers? That's a rebel thing. People in the visual media are going to just like lose their mind and be like, I'm so confused.
What do we think of Saw?
Really?
Speaking of rebels.
I love Saw. Saw's great.
Yeah, there's so much in this episode.
Great cameo. Yeah, 70 minutes. It was.
Where do we see the scar other than this episode? Because he had a big scar across his face. And it's not in Rogue One.
It's probably
like one of his eyes like kind of like glassed over though in Rogue One?
Not that I
Doesn't he have a
know
bad
of. I'm looking it up.
He's got 2 appearances in Rogue One.
He's got the bald appearance.
He's in Clone Wars,
Yeah,
Rebels,
Shaggy.
Fallen Order, Rogue One, and now Bad Batch.
Okay, so he has the
I'll be
scar.
honest, I'm like impartial about
He has the
Saga.
scar in Rebel,
like,
in the Rebels appearance. It would seem, but it's like healing, and then I guess by the time Rogue One rolls around, he's all set.
Does he have it in Fallen Order?
Kind of has a scar there. It's not as prominent.
Hold on, let me look up Fallen Order.
So does he get scarred in the arc in the Clone Wars then? When they're on Onderon?
It doesn't look like he has it in Fallen Order. Can't really tell.
He has it in the when they show him younger with Jin, I think, with young Jin. But then when he's older, I don't think they show it.
Maybe got his hands on some Bacta.
Yeah,
there you go.
Drew some Bacta on that.
But yeah,
the saw scenes were great. The music was very cool there. It was very like
Well, Tarkin just set them up in a way that he knew that he could just get rid of them. Like that was his entire plan. Like he knew it wasn't really like maybe a test of Crosshair's loyalty, but clearly he knew what was going to happen when he sent them in there.
Crosshair was ready to just mow down that old lady.
It's like, come on, this grandma deserves it. Just give me the order.
That's right. Just give me the order. Just go ahead.
Will we see Saw again? Most definitely, I think.
Definitely. They created an entire character model for like a 2-minute appearance in one episode. I don't know.
He's a really popular character, and he's often one for causing trouble in the name of the rebellion. So it's definitely likely, especially when the Bad Batch is, whatever they're trying to do. They Saw may be one of their only points of reference for help in the coming episode.
Yeah,
they may come back and be like, "Hey, remember us?"
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he needs some help.
He's one of the catalysts for their turn, so I wouldn't be surprised if they went back to him at some point. Also, I really liked that they got the Clone Wars actor, whose name I'm forgetting, to come back and reprise
the voiceover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Instead of Forrest Whitaker. No offense to Forrest Whitaker, he's great.
No, yeah, it would make more sense to get the Clone Wars guy because it's closer to that. So
closer in time. I loved the probe droid though, spying on them. Like I love that entire like sequence of events. Also, Wrecker carrying all of their gear, first of all, but then the probe droid, and then I love how they're all just like, oh, this is really weird, and Crosshair is so quick to be like, oh, maybe the Jedi also were spying on us, and they're all like, no, it's like, what is wrong with you? I love how clearly they're separated on this. It's just, oh gosh, we haven't even talked about inhibitor chips. Speaking of it.
I was going to say that plants the seed of foreshadowing that he's still activated.
Yeah. So I think that it goes back to, we were talking before, like, do they have chips or not? So this goes back to confirming that, yes, they do. However, since they were so highly modified, it just didn't click. But apparently Crosshairs did click. And so it would have been like a
little bit
for it.
Just enough.
Yeah. And it also confirms my theory that Echo just was straight up fried. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure missing the back half of his brain, probably.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah, they probably were like, "What's this? We don't need that. Just take it out of there."
I really like that the Empire just took Crosshair and was like, "We're just gonna dial your chip up to like 11."
Yeah,
they literally just like ramp it up.
Give him new armor.
Yeah, Tarkin's just like,
make it super compliant.
Yeah.
Nalase is just like, all right, if that's what you want, here you go.
Sure, I guess.
It's too much.
So where are they going next?
Sector
J19.
My fingers are crossed for this is down the line because I mean there's hints of Rex showing up in the trailers.
Definitely,
But I really would love personally to see Bail Organa show up and be of help of some way because I love Jimmy Smits and I'm just even if it's not him, I would just appreciate getting to see.
Who does
I love that guy.
Did he do the voice for Bail in the Clone Wars, or did someone else do the voice for him? I have no idea. I mean, like we talked about this on.
I think
I just found out that Tim Curry played Palpatine, so I am way behind.
Well, only in season.
Oh yeah.
Only in like season 6, I think. Though they switched actors. Yeah.
Wasn't it Sam Witwer at some point? Did he ever voice him? No, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, once you know that Tim Curry voiced Palpatine in some of the episodes, you can't unhear it.
You can't go back.
Cannot unhear it.
Yeah.
he
How do
did
you
the
say
ones
the,
in
Sorry, go ahead.
How do you say what?
I was gonna say I looked at Farm Boy's comment. The planet that Cutlo Kane is on.
Saleucami?
Yeah, I can never pronounce it. I always say like salami.
I like end up
salami
saying
Salami Land.
Salami Land.
Salami Land.
Saleucami. Yeah,
So,
he thinks
I think
it's Saleucami as also.
Yeah.
P19.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I hear it as Salakami or Salukami.
It is.
I don't know.
It's one of my favorite names to just like say because it's fun. But I get like it's like when you look at it, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I looked at it and I
You're gonna
froze up. I was
Steve
like,
Buscemi?
guys, help. Jamie and I rewatched that episode last night with Cutlo Kane just because that's the big rumor.
Yeah, the deserter.
Yeah.
Right.
It was Phil Lamar, played Hermes Conrad.
Oh wow.
I both could have guessed that and never would have guessed that.
That's great.
He's everywhere.
So where were we? Palpatine. Oh, Bail. I think we'll definitely see Bail in probably Andor and Kenobi.
I'd count on it for Andor, even though they didn't announce him as a returning actor in that like press release. I'd count on it because like that's such like a big part of Rogue One. Same thing with Mon Mothma. So,
or they did. Were you talking about for Andor?
Yeah,
they do
Andor.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I have a feeling Andor is going to do its best to replicate like Rogue One, just like as hard as possible. So I have no doubt that they're going to try to bring in like all the stops, Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, Dodonna. He was there, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I have a feeling they're going to be bringing like the entire, lineup of Rogue One, except for obviously the actual main crew other than Cassian, at least for now. So yeah, that's definitely going to happen with Bail, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he shows up in Bad Batch.
I would love that.
I would love
link these
Bail
shows.
in
They're
the
definitely going to link these shows.
So like Bail in the Bad Batch would make the most sense though, because he is one of the founding people of the entire rebellion. Mm-hmm. And obviously we know Rex goes all the way with the rebellion. So if anything, we're going to see Bail connecting with Rex because Bail wouldn't reveal Obi-Wan's location because like that obviously is something that's like need to know. And even Rex doesn't need to know. Because he knows just how serious all of it is. And I mean, but maybe
there has to be
Rex
something
need to know.
There has to be something in this that causes Rex to meet up with Wolf and Gregor, and then end up where they end. Just like how Revenge of the Sith left everyone where they needed to be.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that Bad Batch will leave Rex where he needs to be for Rebels, because I feel like that was one of my issues with the finale of Clone Wars is that. Well, I mean, Rex made it
so much in between.
Where the heck does he go from there? Where's Wolf and Gregor show up? Because I mean, they didn't exactly all leave together.
Yeah. And I think
because of that, go ahead.
I was just going to say two things. One, Royal Farm Boy pointed out that I forgot General Draven, and you're right.
Ooh.
General Draven as well.
Legend.
Definitely be there. But also, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, I think Dave Filoni really wanted to make Bad Batch a link between Clone Wars and Rebels, like more, which is why he chose Caleb Doom. I know a lot of people were like, it didn't have to be Caleb, but I think Dave Filoni wants to do what Jack was mentioning, like leave everybody where they're going to be set up for Rebels, and kind of like, like I get that the comic had already done that, but I know that Dave probably wanted to show it in a show so that, you watch Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Rebels to get like the full overarching story.
Yeah. Not to keep jumping back to that point that scene too much, but I don't know if you guys mentioned this before I jumped in. Did you notice that the conversation that Depa Billaba is having on her holocron is like almost like it's the same thing that is happening in the Clone Wars, and when her and Caleb Doom show up, when like you see them briefly, like I could be misremembering. I have to go back. Actually, don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. I'll have to go back and double check that.
That wouldn't really.
They literally
cool,
don't like say anything in the Clone Wars. They're just at the table.
They don't. They're literally
just there.
Wait.
Yeah,
I have to go back.
I think that's like another reason,
my
like,
mistake.
Like originally with like season 7, I feel like that was just like Easter egg type thing. It's like, oh look, there's Deppa and Caleb Doom. But like in this one, they definitely were like planning on like actually showing that like one bit, which I'm glad that they did. And
I mean,
I'll be honest, this this was probably the first time I did not cry during an Order 66 moment, and it was one of my all-time favorite characters. So I think that speaks a lot. Probably because he obviously doesn't die in that moment. But that being said, it was still like a really, really emotional Order 66
hearing Deppa
moment.
Like scream though was I had nightmares last night.
That was scary. No, what was I gonna say? What were we? Oh no, what were we talking about right before that?
Oh, I don't know.
Deppa.
No idea.
No, before that.
I don't know. Chat, what were we talking about? They'll know.
God, I had a good point, but I lost it.
How Rogue One and
it's too late. Let it go. It's gone.
Okay. Let the past die.
It's gone. It's gone.
Let the thoughts die. Let the past die.
I loved in the scene with back to the scene with they're fighting the Dark Troopers, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I loved like Tex hacking into it and then just like riding it across like the arena floor. Like that like filled my soul with joy.
That reminded me of
it was incredible. He's just like tapping along as it's like going along, and I'm like, this is the one. This is fantastic.
Was he hardwired? Like, oh, you couldn't do that wirelessly?
Probably a little bit safer, right? Man. And I love how
I think it was probably like too far for the connection kind of thing.
You can just like knock them down, open up a little hatch.
Damn Wi-Fi! Hey, turn off your
like tie like a couple of wires together and just like completely reroute this entire droid and like.
Yeah.
Tarkin should have turned off the Wi-Fi.
It reminded me of the Batman games when
maybe he did.
Like the big ones, you have to fight them and like you jump on the back of one and start
Oh yeah.
You gotta blind them with the batarang and then you hop on their back and like crash into the walls. It's great.
Yeah. That was such a great moment because I think they did a really good job of making them feel overwhelmed, and like even though it's first episode, not gonna kill them the first episode. I'm just like,
I know,
right?
I know.
Then they start thinking on their feet and improvising, and we already mentioned it, but that knife shot was just that's some good stuff.
And hold on,
twofold knife shot.
Rural Farm Boy. I want to say that I do believe that they are Dark Trooper prototypes in some kind of way.
Absolutely.
Like they're DT droids, and we see them also in Rebels. Another version of them. So they're like progressing. Somebody mentioned the other day that did Dr. Pershing say that the Dark Troopers were suits as well? Because I know they were in Legends.
Yeah, at one point.
Originally like cybernetics.
He said that they took out the human element.
He says that.
Go ahead, Jamie.
They removed the human element.
Okay,
yes,
so that
when just said they removed the.
I think they meant that because now we don't have to use clones. We don't have to use conscription stormtroopers as much. We can use these guys, even though they take a while to charge up. In the games, Dark Troopers start out as like you fight them in the Dark Forces game as like Kyle Katarn. Just always got to name drop my boy. They start out as like these metal skeletons you run into while you're on this like spicing planet that the Empire has on, and like they are pretty freaky at that point because they're just like a Terminator with blade hands, and then you find them as sort of like half formed, and then you fight the fully formed ones. And there is one that this Moff pilots as like the final boss, but they're like always like robots that are shot down from space into the Atmo, kind of like the probe droids in Hoth. Like they almost use the same kind of shots of like the racks going into place and shooting down into planet.
Yeah.
Our good friend Denzo Colo Gomez. All right, Denzo Colo. I always say Denzo Colo. I pronounce it wrong. Our friend Jose, who is a great Kylo Ren cosplayer / Ben Solo.
Awesome Kylo Ren. Yeah. But yeah, back to the topic, which was right before that. The two knives being thrown around in that scene. So like Hunter throwing his own knife, which is the knife is Hunter's bread and butter. First of all,
he always reaches right away.
Everything.
Yeah.
So like he flings it at the one droid and it just hits the arm and the droid's just like just looks at him, and you can't see Hunter's face, but you can tell it's the visible confusion why it didn't work, and he has to run away, and it's just like, oh shit. So like I love that, and then just obviously Wrecker's throw and just showing how Crosshair really does bring the team together, even though he doesn't like add much like vocally.
Yeah.
Vocally, I like that.
Vocally, don't think too hard about it, Wrecker. Like, come on, I love it. Something okay. I kept saying this while we watched the episode twice yesterday. So when they're back in like their bunk room, where the hell is Echo's bed?
Yeah, we
it's like not in the room.
He just sits in a chair, and there's a thing just goes in the back
like,
here.
And
he's a droid. He folds up in the corner.
Yeah, he folds up.
Oh, yeah, I love when AZ's like looking at all this stuff. Like it's just like AZ looking at all this stuff and like pulls like the cables for like the battle droid, and he gets so scared. AJ like looked over at me immediately, and he's like, "Are you gonna make one of those?" And I'm like, "A battle droid on a thing of wires? Heck yeah, I'm gonna make one of those."
What was that for? They just grab it and like twirl it around the room.
yeah, Wrecker just like swinging it around. That's all it is.
I'm waiting for you guys to like, make a full-size battle droid, like 3D print a full-size battle droid.
I would love to one day.
We have the Lego one.
If I had the space, I'd have that. I'd have a Dark Trooper. I'd have a 3PO and an R2.
Oh man, if full size B1 battle droid, man, I would show that to Steven Spielberg in a parking lot. I would talk to him about how they're the next stormtroopers.
Oh my god,
that is the most iconic scene I think in the entirety of the Phantom Menace behind the scenes thing. God. Is George Lucas showing Steven Spielberg. Look at this battle droid
is literally just like,
hey, check it out. It's gonna be really cool.
They're the new stormtroopers.
It's such a good video.
Spielberg's like, all right, dude.
Oh my god. He's like, you're nuts.
And the thing the thing looks like broken and like just like dangling on like an armature. Like it's not even like properly set up. It's just like
literally
dead.
like a skeleton in like health class, just like in like the back corner, literally, just like on like a pole.
And they're in like the Twin Pine Malls parking lot there.
Yeah, really.
I the other day, I don't know why I bought this, but speaking of like life-size things, I bought two.
I know what you bought.
A Kylo and a Rey cardboard cutout. So one day they're gonna be like right here.
Yep.
I really wanted to get a Cobb Vanth one, but it wasn't there. And Bulio was a thought, but too much money for Bulio.
Too much money.
Cardboard cutouts are a lot more expensive than they should be.
I know they're
if you don't like have a friend who works at a store where they have those, who like, hey, they're throwing out this one. You want it?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what this poster was.
We should have stolen it from Target. You remember when we went to Target on Force Friday and they had that big display for like Rey and Kylo? We should have just like walked out.
Mm-hmm.
We knew a guy that was gonna grab
I almost got one of those. Yeah, a guy was going to get it for us, and then he stopped working at Target, and so he didn't get it.
At the Apple Store, they made us cut them up because there's apparently such collector's items, like all the pens.
That's so lame.
Yeah,
why would they make you cut it up?
Destroy them after.
Give them away.
Because they don't want that.
Yeah.
Why don't they want that? What's wrong with that? I don't see.
What a waste.
Yeah,
what a waste.
Yeah, it is a waste.
All right.
Any final?
What else about this show?
Yeah.
Final words.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited to have even though it's a show that's taking place smack dab in the middle of everything, or well, now I can't say that anymore. In the early third middle, because now there's 3 trilogies, so
yeah, there you go.
It's not similar to just 2. You have the opportunity to go, oh, okay, so this is a prequel, so I mean I know what's going to happen to them. Yes and no. It's the same thing with Rogue One. You know, I have no idea where the heck this is going, and that makes me very excited because they could do anything. I mean, Bad Batch, they could all die Rogue One style.
Yeah,
they could just do their own thing.
Where are they? Why aren't they in the rebellion?
They could definitely do that.
Where did they go?
Maybe they are. They're just not. I mean, we don't know what causes. Yeah, exactly. They're just chilling somewhere. Like we don't know how like Rex, Gregor, and Wolf get to wherever the heck they are. I always forget the name of the planet. We don't know how they get to where they are, so that's definitely something that I think that will be assessed whenever the Bad Batch ends. And either the rest of them are going to die, or they will just be assimilated into the background somewhere, and we'll just eventually get future content with them again. You never know. that's just how it goes. And I'm still holding out hope that we're gonna get content about Sidon Ithano and Kix, because I'm gonna talk about that till the end of time. There he is. Yeah, because there's a perfectly young and healthy clone trooper during the sequel trilogy that they don't talk about.
Yeah.
That needs to be talked about.
That needs to be talked
probably about. Fought at the Battle of Exegol, and we don't even know.
Yeah,
that's true.
He was 100% there. Definitely there.
Yeah, you're right, Rural Farm Boy. Story can go anywhere.
And we have to wait.
It's nice not to have to wait
2-3 days. Yeah. And then we will have to wait a week.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this new age of Star Wars in that we're no longer trilogy focused. The saga films are great on their own, but I think it's clear that we can also have we can have more breathing room in the stories that we can tell now, because we're no longer worrying about I can't do anything about this segment of time, because imagine what it must have felt like for authors before the Clone Wars came out, because they just couldn't touch anything pre-Empire without George going no.
Yeah. Like he was even cutting down, like they had like a card, like a trading card printed of like Anakin and Padme. And it's really interesting if you can ever find it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's like Anakin like standing in the background. He looks like Sebastian Stan, like a younger version. He's like sitting there like, I'm angry. And like Padme or whoever his wife was supposed to be is holding a baby and is like, I'm scared. And it's like
another shot down trading card is the one of Yoda, the Yodelings. Like there's like one of like a bunch of Yodas.
Really?
For lack of a better term. And George of course shot that one down too, thank goodness.
Yeah.
They were like praying to like a idol of some kind, if I remember correctly. It was
interesting. That is weird.
Just trying to put too much to the culture that we could possibly want.
Look too much.
Grogu's great. Grogu's just the right amount of addition.
Grogu in spirit today.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I got this. What?
Do we think he's going to grab actual Grogu?
Whoa, that was fast. Also, the wireless headphones really threw me for a loop there, because
I was scared. I was like, wait.
I was ready for him to rub a band.
I was like, I would have like, if that was me, I would have been like. He's really going to get the actual thing.
What's he going to grab?
He's probably going to grab it.
Grogu.
Yes.
Actual Grogu.
That's great.
So okay.
Oh my god.
I guess closing terms can be: do we think that Grogu's going to show up in the Bad Batch?
No.
I hope so. That'd be pretty great, because how else does he get out of the Jedi Temple? Who hides him?
Yeah, people were saying that the Bad Batch saves Grogu. I don't know if that's the case.
They're already saving Omega, so
yeah, I know.
They're just gonna save different kids.
Omega.
Speaking of Omega, I just want to say that if Omega ends up being Force sensitive, that's going to be huge and incredibly exciting. Personally, I'm always interested in the Force sensitives. Like Star Wars for me is always like, ooh, the Jedi, the Force sensitive people. So to have like another Force sensitive person in the galaxy confirmed could really be interesting, especially if she survives past Bad Batch and through the original trilogy. That's like another person that Luke can seek out. Yeah, well, that's exactly like Cal Kestis is another like bank of like, oh man, the possibilities for these people. Like Omega,
even if she's not like fully Force sensitive, I feel like she just might have some sort of like telepathic abilities, or just like kind of like picks up everything like around her, even if she doesn't necessarily have like the Force fully. Because I feel like if she had the Force, the Jedi would have picked up on it, because that's just what they do. Because the Jedi are around, they go and they find the kids around the galaxy. That's just what they do.
Well,
but they don't always get everyone. They were hiding her, but at the same time, like if Omega was literally on Kamino and like Shaak-Ti like ran into her, like I'm sorry, would Shaak-Ti like turn a blind eye to that? Like,
you're forgetting these are the same Jedi that didn't know Palpatine was Force sensitive. So
the dark side clouds everything.
So,
who knows? And maybe Palpatine has some sort of.
They have the same hair. They have the
same hair.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. That she does have like a similar hairstyle, but like
I think
she was just a widow's peak.
I'm just saying
that she's blonde. But
I hope that she is a clone of someone we've never met before, or she's literally just like they cooked up some DNA and she's
really.
quote unquote clone, but she just was cooked up.
I really hope
that's what I hope that she is. I hope that. I hope she's not a Django clone for the sole point that she does not look anything like him.
And if she was, I mean, then where'd the Force sensitivity come in if that's also true? Those two things don't
really
jive.
big jumps.
Yeah,
really big jumps.
Because that would
one thing I think that is like.
Sorry.
One thing of note, like in rewatching the Fives arc recently, because I've been trying to like get a video out before the end of the week. They go to the archive in which like the Kaminoans haven't just been making like the clones in the Clone Wars. They've been cloning people for like ever. So like they have like all this like surplus like DNA just like on file. So like it's possible that like it could be someone we have never heard of before, and they're just messing around. I feel like that's really what it was. Yeah. It's geode. Let's be real.
Cloning rocks, please.
Farm Boy said, in his opinion, this story can be told without the Force, but we shall see. I agree. Yeah. I mean, not everything needs to have the Force involved. True. It's like the people that were like, "Oh, I wish Din Djarin was a Jedi," and it's like, no.
If I had my way,
people said that.
The Force would be involved.
I disagree.
But I'm not going to be disappointed.
Jack's like so bothered by that.
Not to be salty about those people, but you know,
we already had enough Jedi in there, though. We had like Grogu and Ahsoka.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, the way that the storytelling usually goes with all of the stuff for Star Wars is the Force ends up getting included in some way, shape, or form because it is an integral part of the galaxy. Yeah. It binds everything together. So you're going to have a Force sensitive in it no matter what. Well, so maybe it's Omega. Maybe it'll just be someone else that they meet along the way.
I just want to point out that when she shoots at Crosshair and they're like, ooh, nice shot. She's like, oh, I got lucky. What's the famous Obi-Wan line? You know, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck. It's always the Force. So
what's the famous Rey line?
That was
lucky.
Got lucky.
Yeah. But I think, you know, I think that's probably a hint, I would say, you know, because that would
be cool.
That's what like adolescent Force abilities are, right? Like heightened
they don't
like reflexes and
they don't know what they can do really.
And some kind of like, you know, empathy.
I'm back on the Palpatine clone train.
Oh boy.
Purely just because, I mean, there's a young Palpatine clone who shows up anyway. It's a guy, but there is a young Palpatine clone, so that has to happen somehow.
But he's not Force sensitive.
You're right.
Force sensitive. So Force sensitivity can pop in and out. Because she's like a Django clone. That doesn't mean she can't also be Force sensitive because clones are individuals, right? In the Force.
But that would imply, like, if at least if it's Palpatine, that could still imply the presence of midichlorians, even if she is not attuned to them and able to sense with them. Like, she could still have a midichlorian count. And so could Palpatine's clone son. Otherwise, how the heck could he pass on that kind of power to Rey? But I think it makes sense because in my mind, the things that will be revealed are Palpatine goes, "Hey, you guys are getting real good at cloning Django. How about you take a spin at me real quick on hush hush under the table?
Let me get in there.
Just don't tell anybody, or else I'll kill you."
And then we pull Omega out of the oven. They're like, "Oop, it's a girl."
Sidious could blackmail them and just be like, "Hey, I'm going to give you this DNA file. No questions asked. Just keep cloning it for me, please."
Honestly, if she ends up being a Force-sensitive clone of any kind or a clone of Palpatine, it's a win for the sequel boys. Win for the sequel crew for sure. Like
Star Wars always recontextualizes and like helps fill in those gaps that frustrate people. Like as great as not ideal as it is for storytelling overall, it's a common thing in Star Wars, so it never bothers me.
Yeah,
I'm down for it in Mandalorian when we got the tease. I hope we get a little more in that era. But I saw Jamie's face with what you said. It's like it's a lot earlier than the sequel trilogy, but I have faith in them. I think whatever happens will be
okay. Let me explain that face. So what we know based on the events in The Mandalorian is they're still trying to make Snoke, and that is a clone of Palpatine. So here's the thing.
Not really. He's a strand cast.
Why are they doing that now then? If they successfully cloned Palpatine
because she got away.
Wars,
well, Kaminoans cloned Palpatine.
The best cloners, right?
Someone cloned her.
Good ones.
Maybe that's why they have Pershing.
They made one. She got away. And that was the only successful one, and now she's gone, and it's like,
Well, he can't be the successful one.
It still goes back to why did Nala say let her get away in the first place? We still don't know like the real reason why.
I mean, I'm just
so she let her get away like that. I mean, like, so they're just gonna like throw away like there's a lot of questions. It's way too would not like it if Omega was a Palpatine clone. I really, 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 really dislike that idea. It was enough for me to come around to the whole lineage for Rey in the first place. Right. The whole thing with cloning Palpatine just scares the shit out of me because no one should be doing that.
Someone has to in this
it's like a personal thing.
I mean, it's Palpatine. Someone has to. Like, of course he's going to do that.
It's supposed to be scary.
I'd be surprised if he didn't do that.
If Palpatine didn't have a
based on what's happening,
so it has to happen at some point during this kind of time period. So it would make sense if only for that reason.
Yeah.
Based on what's happening so far, like in Mandalorian and in the Vader comics recently, I don't think that they would have a successful clone this early in the game. That's what I'm trying to get at here. I don't think they would have it this early on.
I think that the Kaminoans are the golden goose, and something like the clone uprising causes the destruction of the Kaminoan cloning facilities. They proof of concept show that yes, we can clone a force sensitive and retain midichlorians, but the technology and the people who perfected it are lost. So now the Empire is trying to catch up for 30 years,
and that makes their hands on Omega.
That's what I'm getting at.
Like she's the most important piece of this, and the Bad Batch just got away with her, and the Kaminoans, they're not.
Tarkin is signing the execution order.
Yeah,
basically, so he's looking for any excuse to nix him.
So we got to get her out of there, and screw the Empire. They're a bunch of smelly faces anyway.
So you think the Kaminoans know? Obviously, they would know if that was the case, and they want Omega to get away.
Empire is encroaching.
To mess up the Empire's plans.
They've turned the clones on them. They no longer have the control that they used to have on the clones and sharing them with the Republic. Now the Empire has pretty much wrested control through Order 66. Yeah. They now kind of feel like they're kind of backs against the wall. So they kind of just don't do anything. In fact, help a little bit, like what's her name? Nala, lowering the gates.
Nala,
yeah.
So that they could escape. Like she was crucial in their escape. Making sure that the hangar door kept open.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right now, I think it's way too early to speculate on, like, we're going nuts,
this
right?
Is when it's fun. You never know what's going to happen now.
That first 70-minute episode, and we're like, oh, man, Palpatine clone. Here we go.
We said that before when the trailer came out.
We're going to say that for the rest of the time.
Everyone was throwing it out there.
Every time a new Star Wars thing comes out, we're going to be saying Palpatine clone.
It's the Mephisto of the Star Wars theories.
Yes,
there you go.
It is.
Got to get it out early and out of the way. So, now we can
I still don't even know who the hell Mephisto is.
He's like the Marvel. He's like the devil.
He's the devil.
As a casual MCU viewer, I don't care.
May I suggest watching Ghost Rider 2007 with Nicolas Cage to get your full Mephisto fix and learn all about it.
Ghost Rider?
That kind of convoluted storytelling doesn't need to be anywhere near Star Wars. Like the things that is being referenced that people thought were happening in that show. Here, I obviously, it's just like but what, it could, because look at the Vader comic. They are filling in those gaps a little bit.
Yeah.
However
we'll see.
You may think.
They're filling them.
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we're a little bit over an hour here. I guess that was kind of our closing thoughts on what could happen. So. Any other final words? Anything else?
I'm not looking forward to accidentally jumping down Matt's throat with like arguments about Palpatine clones in the next few months. I'm just really not looking forward to these arguments.
I wasn't the one
I'm just saying up front, I'm sorry.
Clone.
If you do,
I think she's a force sensitive Django clone. That's my number one theory, is that she's a force sensitive Django clone. That's my number one theory.
I've got it out there, and that's probably the last I'll mention of it until I think it's actually a more legitimate theory.
I think we're all going to be looking
back
on this in September and laughing our asses off at how wrong we were.
I agree with that. I agree with that one.
I'm okay with being wrong. It makes it's more fun when I just want to see what sticks.
Yeah, like
it's more fun. It's more fun when I don't know.
I don't care.
Happen.
So this was a good time. It was great chatting with you guys. This was kind of our first. This was our first live stream here. I don't know what we're calling this. On Twitter, we called it Marauders Live.
Marauders
the
Live
Bad Batch
for
chat.
now, so.
Jack came up with Bad Batch chat, so
I
I think we could do this every week. Recap Bad Batch and whatever, and yeah. I guess this is the end.
We'll end it for now. This is
Thanks,
the end.
whoever's watching. Farm Boy, all new nerds.
Thank you, little Farm Boy.
Jose.
Hey, thank you, everybody.
We love you guys.
Whoever
voted for us in the top 10 podcast thing, thank you very much. That was a pleasant surprise.
That was huge.
Thank you.
And yeah. We'll